All right, new at 6, North Carolina Republican leaders weigh in on fertility tonight, and they say they don't see a need to pass legislation this year dealing with access to IVF treatments. Well, the recent state Supreme Court decision in Alabama put this issue in the spotlight. Well, that decision led some IVF providers to stop providing treatments, and after that, the state passed a new law aimed at protecting IVF patients. Now, Speaker Tim Moore says he hasn't heard about that being an issue in North Carolina, and he doesn't think the legislature should address that this year.
I don't think that we'll need to do that. You know, we dealt with the life issue this year. I think we adopted a bill that made sense.
So Moore is referring to the new law restricting abortion after 12 weeks. He also said the legislature will not take any action during this year's session to further restrict abortion. In Kentucky, the Republican-led Senate voted overwhelmingly to grant the right to collect child support for unborn children. This again happening in Kentucky, and we're told it has garnered bipartisan support. So this measure would allow a parent to seek child support up to a year after giving birth to retroactively cover pregnancy expenses. So this bill still needs to go back to the House committee and then receive a full House vote in Kentucky. Then it'll be sent back to the Senate. Queen City News Chief Legal Analyst Clive Rhodes joining us here to take a deeper dive on this. I mean, again, this happened in Kentucky, but I guess it really caught our attention because for you to then get retroactive child support, something that, you know, is new, not happening here in North Carolina, correct?
Yeah, this is definitely a large step. So there's a number of states that are normally, and I would say most of the states that I'm talking about have Republically controlled General Assemblies. And so there's a handful of states that have already enacted similar laws that Kentucky has enacted. You have a handful of states that try to do some things a little bit different in terms of give you tax benefits and tax breaks as well. But this in terms of retroactively, if you look at the original writing of what they anticipated, they wanted it to be exactly at conception. That's how it was drafted originally. At conception, you can go and file for child support. And then there was a lot of pushback, and they were like, okay, we'll move it to at least when the child is born, and then you can retroactively go and attempt to get child support. I see this as being the floodgates being open after Roe v. Wade was overturned. And this is what the ex-chair of the Republican Party said, that we have to address the elephant in the room, we as the Republican Party, about how we talk and address abortion, because these are hot button issues that folks are voting on and that are affecting folks' lives on a whole basis. And so this is something that once Roe v. Wade was overturned, everything has been starting to unravel in terms of rules and legislations. And it seems like that every state has every day something new that's affecting the way women can make a decision, or that the state can control their decision on what happens regarding childbirth. This one is something new. It goes towards the man.
It really does. And I was just going to bring that point up because just as you said, when you look at the history of that, the conversation is always in terms of contraception and how this is focused on women. This now puts the responsibility on men.
It does. And it's I mean, first of all, I think the senator that mentioned it, he said that everyone, because it was bipartisan support, believes that this is a cost to childbirth and that the man should bear some burden. And I think that everyone can agree on that. But I think that there is a disagreement within his own party and within folks across the state of Kentucky and maybe across the country is A, when does birth start, and where should the responsibility for financially supporting that start? To go back 9 months, 10 months, as we talked about off air, to be able to cover 10 months of expenses, I mean, somebody had to pay for them. So I do understand the rationale, but going back that far and trying to figure out who pays for the cost and pointing it to the father, that's going to be a hard one to swallow for some folks.
But also legally, though, it almost like it does open the floodgates in terms of now what's unprecedented, of what you can then argue in terms of when the child's life starts.
So the problem with that is that in law school, they would say that's the case of first impression.
Okay.
So because they opened the floodgates, the Supreme Court with the Dobbs decision, and now you have these new legislations popping up everywhere. Every time there's a new case popping up, the court will say, well, now we're in a case of first impression because we've never been in this situation before. So, I mean, while laws are being rewritten and now law students will have new case to look at, it has unpacked some, I think, secondary actions that people would maybe not anticipated.
Right. And just to be able to reiterate, this is a bill that's in Kentucky. It was passed by the Senate. It now needs to go back to the House committee and then to the House for a full vote for it then even to be able possibly to be a law.
But I think they got the votes.
Yeah. All right, Clive Rhodes, appreciate it.